Today we're going to be diving into biggest position battles heading into week 1 versus the New Orleans Saints. We're also going to be diving into players to look out for that are going to need to give their all in preseason to hopefully solidify a spot in the 53-man roster. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack the like button on this video and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel we cover everything Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up, it's absolutely for free. Alright, everybody, let's go and dive right into it. Let's first dive into the biggest position battles for the Cardinals heading into week 1 of the preseason. Now, a couple different things to kind of highlight is obviously the Arizona Cardinals has had a very, very good training camp. We've seen a lot of throws from Kyler Murray to Marvin Harrison Jr. The connection's looking really, really good. And not only that, but Kyler Murray's kind of taken a huge step with just getting the chemistry down with a lot of his wide receivers, with Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson, and also his tight end and Trey McBride. So everything's looking very good on the offensive side of the ball. If they can stay healthy, they could be a very, very good offensive team. Now, there's a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball, but if you're looking at the roster, I feel like there's a lot of spots on the defense and on the offense that are already having solidified spots, right, in terms of players that are most likely going to be starters for the Cardinals. Now, we're going to break this down here for the biggest position battles. Let's first start off with the offensive side of the ball, right? Now, we're going to start off with the QB position, the quarterback position. Now, yes, you're going to ask yourself, well, there's not really a fight for the QB1, obviously, right? Kyler Murray is QB1, but there is room to talk about a potential battle for that QB2 spot. Now, we have heard Jonathan Gannon, head coach of the Cardinals, saying that he is going to give Clayton Tune every possibility to potentially win that QB2 spot. Now, as of right now, there's a lot of Cardinal fans feeling that Desmond Ridder is going to get the edge just because we went out there and traded for him. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to come out to what happened in training camp, and on top of that, what happens in these preseason games, right? We all know that Kyler Murray will not be playing in these preseason games, but we do know that Marvin Harrison Jr. will be playing in these preseason games. Now, that leaves a lot of excitement for Cardinals fans to really see who these quarterbacks are, right? Is Desmond Ridder going to flourish in preseason when we get some regular reps in the preseason games? Or we're going to see Clayton Tune have a very, very good game, right? There's a lot of people out there that kind of wrote off Clayton Tune because after that Cleveland Browns matchup, I'm always one of those guys that's just going to say, I feel like he was kind of thrown into the fire. I don't feel like it's really his fault, but I think at the end of the day, there is room to say this is going to be a really cool, exciting QB2 battle between Desmond Ridder and Clayton Tune. Obviously, I think one of the main reasons of preseason is just being able to develop a lot of these players that are on the bubble to make the 53-man roster, but there's also some room to be excited about, you know, potential QB2 battle here, right, with Desmond Ridder and Clayton Tune. What I really want to see is the connection between Clayton Tune and the wide receivers, or just the weapons in general, or Desmond Ridder and the weapons of this offensive side of the ball, right? I want to see this offense being moved and utilized the way, you know, Drew Petzing wants this to be utilized. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, whoever plays the best in preseason most likely will win that QB2 position. I'm going for Clayton Tune personally, but if Desmond Ridder wins because of his experience and just what he brings to this Arizona Cardinals organization, then I'm not going to be mad at it, but I do want the best player to earn that spot. So let's move on over to the running back position, just real quick, right? Now, like I said before, James Conner, Kyler Murray, we know they're solidified starters, right? But we're talking about that running back 2 position. Right now, it definitely seemed like Amari DeMarcado seems to be that running back 2 for the Arizona Cardinals. But hey, you know, you never know what happens. Trey Benson, a rookie that we just got in this last year's draft, the running back out of Florida State, he might, you know, sound off. He might go crazy, right, in preseason. We don't know at the end of the day. Now, we don't exactly know Amari DeMarcado's injury. Jonathan Gannon did say it doesn't seem like it's too big of a deal. So we might still be rolling with James Conner, Amari DeMarcado, and potentially Trey Benson as the 1, 2, 3 running backs heading into the regular season. But I do think that running back 2 position is anybody's game to win, right? Like I said before, if Trey Benson absolutely goes off, we could definitely potentially see him as that running back 2 role. but at the end of the day, it's not really much to squabble about because we do know that James Conner, if he could stay healthy, is going to have the majority of those snap counts coming his way, right? And I'm not mad at that. James Conner is one of the best running backs in the entirety of the NFL. And now let's move on over to the defensive side of the ball. I think the only real, I guess, position battle to really look out for is going to be potentially that cornerback 2, cornerback slot position. I think the way it's going to shake out is going to be Sean Murphy-Bunting being your CB1, and then for CB2 is going to be Garrett Williams. Now, when we have the nickel package out there, right, with your more cornerbacks on the field, I do think that Garrett Williams is going to be moving over to the slot. Now, one of the biggest question out there is going to be who's going to be that third cornerback heading in, right, with the defense. Now, there is some room to say maybe Max Melton, but when the first depth chart was released, Starling Thomas V actually got the nod for the start, right? So it's actually really exciting to see a guy that was cut from his former team, and the Cardinals ended up picking him up on waivers, and he's actually done really, really well for the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, there's some Cardinal fans out there that are kind of upset with the fact of, Max Melton not getting the opportunity. I still do think that Max Melton is going to get a fair shot and a fair opportunity, but got to give some love over to Starling Thomas V. He's actually done very good last year, and in training camp, he's done nothing but good things, right? So if he actually beats out Max Melton, honestly, it's only going to hopefully encourage Max Melton to kind of get better and redefine his tools and what he's going to be and what he can bring to this Arizona Cardinal defense. So at the end of the day, I think that's one of the biggest position battles there is who's going to win that battle, right? Now, we probably won't get our answer here in preseason week 1, but maybe week 2 of preseason and potentially week 3 of preseason as well, because I think when it comes down to it, the closer you get to the regular season, when we're talking about preseason games, you're going to see less and less starters. So we might see starters, not Kyler Murray, but I'm talking about maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe some other starters kind of, sprinkled in there as well, but they probably will only play for like a drive or two. They're definitely not going to be playing for a quarter, or at least in my opinion, they're not. But there's definitely some room to be very excited about these preseason games because there's a lot of potential really good battles here in specific positions. Now, you could also come out here and say who's going to win that, the defensive end position, right? Now, outside linebacker, defensive end, depending on what formations you have on the field. But what I'm really talking about is potentially Darius Robinson, right? One of the rookies, a first-round pick for the Cardinals this year. Where is he going to land, right? Is he going to be a starter for the Arizona Cardinals? We don't know until week 1 of the regular season, but we better bet your bottom dollar. A lot of people are going to have a lot of eyes on Darius Robinson and a lot of the rookies that we have coming out of this year's draft. So those to me are my biggest position battles. That cornerback 2/3 role, also the quarterback position, and then the running back as well. Now let's move on over to some specific players that I really liked in training camp and players that you should be keeping your eye on because I really hope that they actually show out in preseason because they could potentially be fringe bubble guys that can maybe get the boot or land on a practice squad. So let's first start off on the offensive side of the ball. Michael Carter, to me, running back Michael Carter, I don't understand why he was so far down on the depth chart, the first depth chart heading into week 1 of preseason. I don't get it, but Michael Carter needs to show out. Absolutely. I think a lot of Cardinal fans are really excited about him. We saw him last year. We've seen him give us a different look of a running back that is different than a James Conner, and I feel like you definitely need that variety within your running back core, right? So Michael Carter, definitely a name to look out for in this preseason. He's most likely probably going to get a lot of snaps. Don't know really if he's going to be running with the 2s or the 3s, but look out for Michael Carter. Another guy you should look out for, I really like, was the undrafted rookie that we ended up getting this last year, and that's wide receiver Xavier Weaver. Man, I want him to make this roster so darn bad. I would love him to potentially get a spot as obviously a wide receiver. Now, he's probably not going to get a lot of playing time unless there's crazy injuries for the Cardinals wide receiving core, and obviously knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, but Xavier Weaver is an athlete. He's a guy that's actually showed out very, very well in Colorado, and I do not want any other team to kind of snipe him away from the Cardinals. Now, if he finds himself in the practice squad, as I guess as long as he's with your organization, that's okay, but I really do want him to have a spot on this roster. Now, if you look at the wide receiving core, we all know Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch being the 1, 2, 3, right? Now, I do think obviously Zay Jones is going to make it, and then Chris Moore. Now, there is room for potentially 6, maybe even 7 wide receivers, just really depending on how they're going to be used. Are they going to be playing special teams? Are they going to be punt returner, kick returner, that type of stuff? We have seen Xavier Weaver being used as that on training camp, so maybe they bring him in but primarily have him on special teams. I'm okay with that as long as he's giving an opportunity. So Xavier Weaver, look out for him. I think he's going to be a really, really good player if given that opportunity. Now, let's stay over to the offensive side of the ball. I'm so curious to figure out what's going to happen with that left guard position. Now, I didn't put this as my biggest position battles list because Evan Brown has been taking the bulk of the snaps when it comes down to the left guard position. So I don't really think it's a big battle, but there is some names to look out for in terms of how they're going to do maybe for the future of the Cardinals, right? Because I don't think Evan Brown's going to be 3 or 4 years down the road with the Cardinals unless he does that fantastic that the Cardinals decide to bring him back. But players to look out for, John Gaines II, as well as Isaiah Adams, which was another rookie that we ended up bringing in this year as well. So excited about that. And then hopefully we see some Tip Ryman, right? Hopefully we see some Tip Ryman. Let's move on over to the defensive side of the ball. Some players to look out for. Darius Robinson is going to be one of my very first players to look out for on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously a first round pick for the Cardinals, and we all want him to succeed. It's just we do not know where exactly he's going to be primarily playing on the defensive line. There was an interview coming out and saying that he actually was moved throughout the entire defensive line, all except that nose tackle position on the defensive line. But he's been used on edge, he's been used on the defensive end, all of this different stuff. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. Definitely keep your eyes out for Darius Robinson. Another name to look out for, potentially Cameron Thomas, right? A lot of fans have come out here and said that I forgot about Cameron Thomas. I really haven't. He just has not done a lot for me to kind of put his name out there, but I do want to name him on this video because I want to say that he could potentially be a bubble fringe player, maybe a guy that gets cut if he does not show out here in preseason. So I feel like Cameron Thomas is kind of not so much fighting for his career, but he's definitely fighting for a spot in this 53-man roster. Cameron Thomas is definitely a name to look out for sure. Now, I want to name another guy out here as well, and Max Melton, right? Is Max Melton going to get a lot of reps? Probably not. We're probably going to see him, but he's probably not going to get a lot. And by a lot, I mean he's not going to get a quarter. At least I don't feel. And if we do, that would be absolutely amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What is one player that you're very excited to watch here in week 1 of preseason versus the Saints? What are your big key position battles for the Arizona Cardinals heading into week 1 of preseason? Let me know here in the comments below. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.